name is Christina. I'm 29 years old. I live in Seattle. I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 2, grade 2 so far. The beginning would be August. Felt a lump, was laying in bed, and it was not like a small pea lump. There was a golf ball in my chest. So spoke to my significant other about it. He said make it a doctor's appointment. I wasn't overly concerned because 2 years prior there was another small lump on the lateral side. Turned out to be a cyst. They didn't do any testing, but with seeing a specialist, she palpated me and said for sure that it was just a cyst and I may end up being prone to them. If they get bad or painful, they maybe need to be drained, otherwise you just live with it. So was not concerned. Put it off, making first doctor's appointment. Didn't have a family practitioner, so I had to find one locally. Went in, expressed to her my concern, briefly mentioned that I had some family members that have had breast cancer in the past. Didn't go into detail in my family history, which was a mistake. I probably should have done that right off the bat, because I've come to learn through this so far that that is a huge factor. She had palpated me again because of the size, because it was mobile. It wasn't like stuck down. It moved around in my tissue. She was pretty convinced that it was a cyst as well. She said, you're too young for breast cancer. It popped up too fast, too big. It's mobile. It's likely just a cyst. You're probably going to be prone to them. We're going to have you get it checked to be sure. I went to the breast cancer imaging center, assuming they were just going to do, because I was told they were going to do a, what's it called, ultrasound of it and make sure and maybe drain it. In the waiting room, after they have you dressed down, they make you take everything off the top, put you in like a Jedi-looking robe thing, and you just kind of hang out in the back in the waiting room. The nurse came out and said that it sounded like they wanted to do a mammogram, and I'd never had one before, because I had filled out more of my family information at this appointment. I had written in a lot more detail because there's been a lot of cancer in my family. Which is based on your family history when the doctor wants to be sure. So before she sees you, she wants me to take some images. So she took 4 or 5 images, put me back in the waiting room. Sometime, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes later, she came back, says, doctor wants more images. So we did 3 or 4, I can't even remember now, 3 or 4 more images, both sides, lots of different angles. They even did a few like weird close-up angles of the mass, so they could get a better idea. They said, I guess when you're younger, it's harder to get clear images on a mammogram, because the younger you are, the more dense your breast tissue is. So it's hard to get through all that density and all that, so they can see the masses or lumps or clearly. It's difficult. So they were going to do the ultrasound as well, because what one missed, the other one was supposed to be able to see. So they took me back and they did the ultrasound, and the ultrasound showed that the mass was completely black. It was solid. There was no fluid. So, of course, they were concerned. She sat me down and said that she was really concerned about this, and it was one of 2 things. It was either possibly cancer, or it was some kind of fibrotic tumor that was benign, but it was, either way I was going to have surgery. It was going to have to come out. And she wanted me to clear the rest of my schedule for the day and stay and have a biopsy done right there. So I did that, still thinking it was probably going to be the latter of the 2. I was almost certain it was going to be a fibrotic, mass, and was annoyed that I was going to have to, be out for a while for surgery. So sent messages to family, let them know what was going on, let coworkers know I was to clear my schedule for the rest of the day. So they did the biopsy. The needle they use is a big plastic thing. They numb everything up, so you really don't feel it. The scariest or most unnerving part of it is the sound it makes when they take the samples. But I had a really great team. There were two ladies there, the nurse and the doctor that did it, and they were both great and made me feel as comfortable as one can in such situations. And even afterward, I still wasn't worried. They bandaged it, gave me a little ice pack to wear for the rest of the day, and told me I could take out Tylenol as needed. I was pretty much back to normal the next day with some soreness, but it would swell easily with too much pressure in the area. So that appointment was on a Friday, and I had the weekend off to heal and recover. December 3rd was that Monday. I believe it was December 3rd. I went to work. They told me it was going to take 3 to 4 business days to get results back, so I was not expecting to hear from them until Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. So I was running around at work. My phone kept ringing. I had it on vibrate, but it kept going off. So finally I answered it, thinking it had to do with something else. There was a lot of other things going on at the time. Not expecting it to be the doctor's office. It was the doctor, and she was very direct. She said, Christina, I'm really glad you came in. We got some of the test results back, not all, but it is positive for cancer. I was in shock. I just kind of had to sit down, and it was just the last thing I expected. It was the farthest thing from my mind. Still, I guess, in shock. She didn't really say much else. She asked if I could come in that day or what my schedule was like. I said, I'm at work. I work 11 hours today. I can't come in. I'm going to have to call you back on my lunch. I'm working right now. And she said, okay, here's some numbers for you to give us a call back as soon as you're available. So after I got off the phone, again, I just kind of sat there for a minute trying to figure out what I was supposed to do now. I was just in complete shock. It was weird. It was like near a ghost or something. It was really weird. I was just kind of floating around, and finally I wandered up to where my manager was, because I was literally just kind of wandering around the office, lost. I didn't know what to do, or where I couldn't function. So finally I managed to wander upstairs, let them know what I had just found out, and said that I'm probably going to need to go home at lunch. And they said, you should probably go home now. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I quickly called my significant other again, let him know that some of the results were back, and it wasn't good. If he needed to meet me at home. So of course I came home. I told him what I knew so far. Was still a lot in shock. Immediately called back to the doctor's office. They gave me what information they had. They still didn't have all the results yet. They scheduled me to meet with who would become my surgeon, Dr. Tierney, for Wednesday or the next day. For Wednesday. So that would be the 5th. Told me, what they knew. They didn't know a whole lot at that time. They knew for sure it was cancer. They knew it was beyond stage 1 simply because of the sheer size. They were concerned that it had spread because they got like a sample of a lymph node, and the lymph node didn't look right, so they were worried that it had moved into my lymph nodes already. That was really all the information they could give me right out the door, which was upsetting because I wanted information. I wanted to know everything that I could know right up the front. I wanted to know what the next steps were. I wanted to know what my schedule and what my life was going to be like for the next 6 months, if it was going to take 3 months, if it was going to take 6 months. I wanted to lay out a plan and a schedule and to just have as much information as possible. So to only get just, you have cancer and that's all we know, was really, really made me angry. Once I got over the shock, I was just angry.